know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you landed here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys, Joe, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfare.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by BetOnline.AG. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome to the bye-week episode of Chief Concerns. I know we said we weren't going to have an episode this week, but we had the opportunity to speak to former Chiefs quarterback Steve Bono and also former 49ers quarterback Steve Bono. Steve, got to ask you, man, I'm sure it is always a conflict when you have to see both your teams play against each other. Not too often, but how conflicted were you when you saw that game, San Francisco versus Kansas City?
It was it's weird. You know, the two teams you played the most for, obviously 5 years here in San Francisco and 3 years in Kansas City. Yeah, it's a weird feeling. But it was a good atmosphere yesterday. It was a pretty good game. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. It was a really good game. And I had gone back and looked at it statistically from team stats, and it was actually a lot closer statistically than the score represented to me anyway. I would say the biggest difference being Chiefs making some big plays, handful of sacks on Garoppolo, probably, and a big turnover, I would say, by the 49ers at the goal line. Yeah. Chiefs had a couple turnovers themselves, but it was, statistically pretty close. I guess the biggest difference too was Chiefs average. I saw something the Chiefs averaged almost 10 yards or 9 yards a play.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
And third downs were also another thing there too. You had that screen to McKinnon on that 3rd and 20 play. 3rd and 11, the bomb to MVS. So the third down was also something that comes back.
Actually, third downs. Both teams were actually pretty good. When I say pretty good, being 50% or better, and if I remember correctly, they both were better than 50%. So yeah. I think the 49ers, they had a better first half than they did the second half, obviously, and obviously the opposite for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that's one thing we'll get into with our first question. So the kind of thing going into this game was that the kind of the hype up, and not the hype. I mean, statistically, 49ers had the best defense in the league. Number 2 against the pass, and 2 against the run. And I think a couple weeks ago, their numbers being measured to the 1985 Bears defense. And with that, Mahomes comes out and I forgot, I saw the record earlier from Mahomes has some ungodly record against the number 1 defense. Whenever he plays number 1 defense, he has this ridiculous record against them. And yesterday, 423 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. We have 44 points against this really good defense. As a quarterback, when you watched that game yesterday from Mahomes, how special would you say his performance was yesterday?
It was pretty damn good, and I would say, I mean, obviously he was terrific yesterday. He was, I don't know, 25 for 35, 25 for 34. I mean, he played really well, and I would say that the key to me really was that the offensive line played really well. They ran the ball well, and they protected Mahomes well. Patrick is. There's one specific play that stands out in my mind. It was in the first quarter. He was rolling to his left, and I saw it live, and I was like, "Oh my God, no, he didn't just do that." Where he literally, pulled up, flipped his hips, and slung one sidearm. Probably didn't go more than 6 feet off the ground, and went 15, 20 yards, and it was a nice catch. It was a little bit behind the receiver, but on the replay, there were hands from the defense like going in as the ball was going along, but nobody could quite get to it, and it ended up in the receiver's hands. And I just kind of shook my head and went, he's playing a different game. He's like, I said to somebody over the weekend, because it was alumni weekend, I was like, there was another former quarterback, and I said, God, if we attempted some of the things that he attempts, we would have been benched. And that throw yesterday was, I mean, he had a lot of great throws, but that one just really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think that's the play he threw to Mecole Hardman. It was like I think he got Mecole right in the gut on that throw. It was a dart.
Yeah, I don't honestly. I don't remember who was on the receiving end of it. I just marveled at him rolling out to his left, and I mean he was obviously running away from the pressure, and was able to just slow himself up enough to flip his hips and his shoulders and sling it out there. And it was, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I need to watch this one. There's televisions everywhere in Levi Stadium. So like, I need to watch this replay. That was just way too good.
No, it's funny because we had Tyler Pickett on a couple of weeks ago, former Chiefs quarterback. And he was talking about how, like, what Mahomes does is the stuff that you see in video games, stuff that, like, you've been always taught as a quarterback to never do, rolling left, rolling right, like there's things that you don't do, but he does it and he makes it look so easy that, like,
God, he does.
A lot of people can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure we could have. We didn't really practice that way. You know what I mean? So yeah, every once in a while you would maybe drop your arm down to like throw it under a defensive lineman that had his hands up or something. But no, we didn't practice that way. That's not how you play the position. Then, like I said, it's a different game. They're playing a totally different game than we did.
Yeah, and I think a part of his pre-game warm-up is the different arm angle throws that he does.
Oh, I believe it. I didn't watch him yesterday, but I'm sure he does. Yeah, he's pretty special.
There was the first play that was the first play, but it was the first drive again where Mahomes threw the interception on Chiefs on Twitter. There was kind of two schools of thought because the way the Bills game ended last week was pretty much a drag route to Sky Moore and that ended up in an interception. Then yesterday, it was the same kind of play to Sky Moore, which ended up in an interception, which I thought we were done when that happened. But when you have Mahomes, no deficits too much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm actually the play is not coming back to. I mean, I do kind of remember the interception, but I'm not remembering. I'm not remembering exactly how it happened. Anyway, I would say what you said. Yeah, there's no deficits. Too big.
Yeah, because online people were saying they're blaming on the receiver. Some were blaming on the receiver. Some were blaming on the quarterback with that play. I don't know if because you were at the game, I don't know if you may have saw that or if you kind of diagnosed what would have occurred there.
Yeah, I honestly don't. Yeah, I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's not coming back to me.
Yeah, it's just I think a lot of people are trying to because it's the same receiver who muffed the punt, and so a lot of people are trying to say maybe it's the receiver not running the right route, the rookie. Maybe he's not his route was drifted upfield, and that's why Mahomes threw the interception. So that there was a lot of that going on Twitter. Obviously,
right,
everyone
right,
argues with everything. So yeah,
lots of people talking about it.
Yeah, lots of people have an opinion on it too. Everyone thinks they're the expert on it, so that's why.
The muffed punt. He just didn't get up underneath of it enough. I mean, and he had to almost like the ball like retreated on him, and he had to reach for it at the end.
Yeah, and that's a third muff punt of the season. Second one inside the 10, inside the opponent's 10. So a lot of Chiefs Kingdom want Hardman to be the punt returner back there. So I guess we'll see what happens after the bye week on that.
Yeah. Okay. They're going into a bye week this week.
Yeah, it's bye week now. Yeah.
Okay.
So a big win going into the bye week. So this is a question I wanted to ask you. So this whole offseason, we brought a whole new crop of receivers. And we hadn't really seen an explosion yet from them. I think even going into this game, it was like we didn't know if we were going to get a 1,000-yard receiver. But I think after this game, everyone's numbers have kind of crept up again. And it's kind of, sparked some criticism saying this offense is less explosive, that they need another guy, OBJ being one of them. But yesterday we saw JuJu and MVS go for over 100 yards. First time two receivers have done that with the Chiefs since 2000. That was Sylvester Morris and Derek Alexander against the Raiders. So a long time ago. So my question is, we're seeing this. So all season, Mahomes worked out with these guys in Texas. They came down. They worked out with him, like a 2 to 3 week mini camp, just him and the skill players. My question is, are we starting to see the chemistry Mahomes has built up with these guys? Or is it more these receivers are starting to understand this offense more going into week 7 of the season? Or would you say it's a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both because they definitely had the chemistry yesterday. I mean, I know I can picture that one throw to JuJu. He was, he's wide open over the middle. He ends up scoring on it late in the game. I find it, I guess, somewhat ironic. I was watching, I guess it was the Bills game, and they were talking about, well, JuJu doesn't have a touchdown catch yet. I think that happened in the Bills game, and maybe it was even a game before that that I was watching, and they were commenting that he hadn't had a lot of receptions, so on and so forth. But I would say that they definitely broke out yesterday, and I would say it's a combination of both. They're getting a feel for Patrick's timing and rhythm in a game, and getting a feel, of the routes that they're running inside of Andy's system. So definitely a combination. And again, in my mind, it goes back to the offensive line played really well and gave Mahomes time to throw the ball.
Yeah, that was one of the better. That and the Buccaneers game are the two games I kind of point to when we look at our O-line this year. Had kind of stepped up to the challenge of going against a good defense, and especially
solid defense, very good defense. Yeah.
So we talk about the rapport that Mahomes has built up with the receivers, and we're starting to see it now. And I think a lot of these media, a lot of these guys on national media, they talk about these guys aren't explosive. They're not getting along. They don't have this chemistry. But it's not like you don't just get a guy and they come over and they start getting 100 yards here, 100 yards there. I mean, it takes time to kind of build up a rapport. I mean,
it does, and Patrick is making receivers better. I mean, he can sling it out there pretty damn well, as we talked about earlier. And so as guys learn, like I said, learn the routes, learn the timing, they can expect that ball is going to be in the right spot when they come out of a break.
As a quarterback, like what do you look for when you see if a quarterback and a receiver are on the same page? Because there were some throws yesterday that looked like Mahomes been playing with JuJu for years. But I think they had 2 or 3 back shoulder throws yesterday. And as a layman, I don't know what I'm looking at there. I see a quarterback receiver connect on that. Is that what you?
No, that's a definite sign that they're getting on the same page, especially that back shoulder throw, because they have to trust each other. The receiver is going full speed, trying to make it look like he's beating the corner, the cover man, and then that's Patrick. And who knows? It could be a go route, but you get that cover man running with his back to you, and the quarterback can throw that ball to make a receiver be wrong, no matter how good the coverage is, and trust that when the receiver turns around, that he can see that ball flight. And know that he needs to put on the brakes, and that ball is going to be on his back shoulder. So that's a definite sign that they're getting on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Week 7, I thought that going into the season was like, okay, well, the Mahomes was saying to don't draft any of the receivers in fantasy, don't draft them high in fantasy. So I was like, oof, that's not a good sign there. But now we're going to week 7 of the season, and okay, well, JuJu's kind of emerging as his top target. So,
yeah. They definitely have some weapons, and like I said, they ran the ball well as well yesterday.
Yeah, and we got some. Yeah, but that running back committee between Pacheco, CEH, and McKinnon. I mean, McKinnon, a blocking guru. What did you think about that penalty they called on him when they negated JuJu's touchdown? The blocking outside a tight end zone or whatever.
That was the one on Bosa.
Yeah, McKinnon cut out Bosa's legs.
He cut him out. Honestly, I thought it was a pretty good call. Because he had gone low on him, and I thought it was a pretty good call. That's kind of a safety issue call. Bosa's not thinking that somebody's going to do that to him out in the open field. So, yeah, I thought it was legit.
Yeah, I guess my thing with that is because some Chiefs fans were really upset by that call, but it's also like, yeah, that is a rule, but the referees are consistent when calling that. It's like one of those things, like be consistent whenever that's done, because you see it. You can watch every NFL game. That kind of block's being done by a third down back coming in there to give his quarterback some more time.
Yeah,
called enough.
I kind of look at that one like a corner or a defensive back, I'll call him, doesn't have to be a corner, but taking on an offensive lineman that's pulling, that has support on the edge, and they decide to, go low on an offensive lineman. They usually call that one, that to me, that's kind of a safety issue call again. They seem to be pretty consistent with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a new rule. That being able to block going out to the pooling on DBs, and you can't really go low on their knees or whatever.
You can't exactly. It's kind of I don't know if they call it a chop block. They might, but to me that's kind of the same type of call that happened yesterday on the Bosa penalty.
Yeah, I know. On our show, Eric and Jason, when that rule was first announced, like last year or 2 years ago, with the quarterbacks can't go low on the lineman, I know JD was upset by that, or JD loved that, and then Eric hated that because he goes we're small dudes out there on an island. Like, what else are we supposed to do?
Yeah, and you used to be able to do that, and that was your only defense. I mean, you got a 185-pound corner or safety taking on a 320-pound guy that is going full speed. That's not easy. I was going to say that you guys probably had fun a couple of weeks ago with the whole because one of them was Patrick, one of them was Brady. Is this a roughing the passer? Is this not? There were some really funny, memes out there. I mean, I guess my point is that was definitely not consistent.
No, 100%. And that is the thing with the roughing the quarterback, roughing the passer. It's not consistent at all when it comes to who's getting the calls, who's not getting the calls.
Yeah, and was it the? I think it was that same weekend when I'm pretty sure it was the Chiefs when somebody from the Chiefs went to
Chris
sack.
Jones.
Yeah,
Chris Jones sack against Derek Carr.
Exactly, against Derek Carr. That was it. Yeah. And it was a fumble. I mean, he's not paying attention now to the quarterback. He's trying to get the ball, and ended up falling on top of him. Like that was such a bad call, I thought.
So as a quarterback, seeing the ways they're trying to protect the quarterback, what do you make of all that?
I mean, to me, it just none of them should have been called. I mean, the one on Patrick was not called, if I remember correctly, right? It wasn't,
yeah.
The Derek Carr one should not have been called. The Tom Brady one should not have been called. I mean, there was a meme where the guy picked up his girlfriend and laid her down and said, "This is roughing the passer in the NFL" or something. It was pretty funny. If the guys, I mean, I get what they're trying to do because it's when you get hit like that and both arms are in, and your shoulders going into the ground, that's where guys get hurt. And you have a guy that weighs, 275 pounds that's on top of you. Something has to give. So I get that protecting. And nowadays the guys seem to, turn court when they are sacking them. If it's a pretty clean sack of kind of turning the quarterback so he either lands on top of you or he lands on the ground next to you, kind of without slamming him, which I think is a good thing. I kind of always go back to the I can see it in my head, the clip of McMahon getting slammed on his head years ago by someone from the Vikings, I think it was. Anyway, nobody wants to see that. That's not that kind of stuff's not good for the game. Period.
Yeah, and I think what happened with Tua. I think that was the following week after what happened with Tua. So I think the referees kind of were overcompensating with what happened there and trying to.
Yeah.
I get it. They're trying. It's a fine line.
It is a fine line, and the 2-1. I didn't watching it. I didn't necessarily think it, and then I don't remember if they called a penalty. I don't think they did, and I didn't think it was a penalty. The one with Tua was, he hit the back of his head, and that's the worst. That's the worst spot. The worst part of that was that he got up and staggered, and they didn't take him out. I mean. Yeah, he came back in the game. That's the bad part about that.
Oof, yeah.
I mean, that's to me. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but having seen guys get concussed, that was an immediate sign to me.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, they said it was a lower back injury. That's why he fell down like that. Come on.
Come on. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I got that one.
Yeah. I think I saw Colin Coward's show. Colin Coward saying, I think just they need to have it for roughing the passer. They need to have two things. Like how the college game, they do the reviews when it's targeting. They review it to see, the guy should be thrown out or not. You review that to see if it is legitimate roughing the passer. And then also if a guy wobbles after a play, then automatically, whether he passed the test or not, he's done for that game. He wobbled that after a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole targeting thing in college, to me, I'm not crazy about it, to be honest. I think they I think they look at it or consider it targeting too much. I mean, yeah, sometimes, yeah, I'm that defensive back or has a linebacker, whoever it is, hitting a receiver or running back, a tight end. To me, the targeting is, somebody's coming up trying to rake somebody, those kinds of hits. I mean, yeah, you could be going in with your shoulder, and maybe that person that's going to get hit is going to lower their head naturally, because your biggest weapon and your biggest protector is your helmet. You're not going to let somebody stick their shoulder in your sternum if you don't have to.
Exactly.
We get sidetracked, but I'm just going to say that the roughing the passer one now to me is now like what pass interference has been over the last few years to me. Pass interference just drives me nuts. They need to do away with it, and they don't seem to be calling it as much.
True.
Call it holding, make it a 10-yard penalty, and move on, because the pass interference thing just changed too many games. I mean, hell,
It's definitely
Brady gets one-on-one, and he'll just throw it up, knowing that he's got probably a 2/3 chance that it's either pass interference or it's a completion. I mean, I don't blame them. That's part of the game. If you can get away with it, but just make it a 10-yard penalty.
But the spot you're talking about, making the spot foul aspect of it.
Yeah, just don't make it a spot foul.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's interesting.
It seems like they're trying to do that more this year.
Because you're seeing, you're right. You're seeing more that the holding call on DBs, not so much pass interference on DBs. Which
exactly.
It's on that first down still, but it's a 5-yard penalty, not a spot foul. So
right. That's just, to me, that's a better way to go.
100%. No, I totally agree with you. So going back to the Chiefs game, what we saw yesterday, just kind of the totality of the season. This is something that a lot of people thought with getting rid of Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs were not going to have a scary offensive team anymore. And we saw yesterday against 49ers that's not the case. But this is something that stood out to me. So you think Tyreek Hill would be less explosive. So through the first 7 weeks of the season, the Chiefs have 37 plays that go for more than 20 yards. In comparison to last year, you had 23 plays at this point in time of the season that went for more than 20 yards. So my question to you is the question everyone's been asking. The whole season everyone said the Chiefs were not going to be as explosive anymore, but now we actually have a sample size. So based on what you saw yesterday, do you think this team this offense is scarier than we've seen in years past?
I'm going to say yes, for the simple fact of there was more than one guy going for more than 20 yards yesterday. I don't know the guys' names, but the one deep ball that Patrick threw, the receiver ran a really nice route and got Tafarius Ward to bite, just kind of on a little step out move, and ran right by him, and Patrick hit it. That one jumps out at me, and then the screenplay, like you said earlier, on third and 19, third and 20. I think it was a screen.
It was a screen at 3rd and 20. Yeah, where McKinnon blocked.
So I mean that one stands out to me. And then there was a, maybe didn't get 20, but there was a fly sweep that came toward the Chiefs sideline that went for a fair number. I don't remember if it was 20 plus, but so point being that there seems like there are numerous guys that are doing it, not just Tyreek.
And also,
I mean, they had to have at least a handful of those yesterday.
Yeah. And the one thing you can speak to this as a quarterback, they having the too high shell, which kind of dominated us last year, where we won the big play. We couldn't get the big play, and then it was forcing us to drive down these 10, 12 play drive. That's why we had 23 plays of 20 yards at this point last year, because teams are just making us drive. Are you seeing that that defense Mahomes having to play against that last year so much that's made him a better quarterback, and also having kind of a more weapons?
I mean, I can't say. I can't say I know that the 49ers played a lot of cover 2 yesterday. I mean, people just play a lot more cover 2 again. They played a lot of cover 2 in my era. They're playing it a lot more just because of what you said, trying to cut down on the big plays. I just think that I just think Mahomes, he had time yesterday and was able to find his open receiver. Unfortunately for Jimmy G, he got sacked 5 times and was seemed to be looking for the open guy and wasn't getting the time.
Yeah, that was encouraging for all the Chief fans out there who have been concerned about our pass rush. I still think we need to get another edge rusher, but I mean, it looked good yesterday.
They did. They looked good. Like I said in the very beginning, that they were the better team yesterday.
So it's not many times we get to speak to someone who had a receiver like Jerry Rice. When in '91, where you started 6 games with San Francisco, you were 5-1. I believe Jerry Rice had 80 catches that year. And then fast forward to '95, where you made the Pro Bowl with the Chiefs, and you had guys like Lake Dawson, Webster Schlatter, Willie Davis. Getting, I think, based on what my research,
JJ,
and that season they each had those 3 guys in particular had about 75 targets each, just targets. And I think might have been one of the leading receivers was Kim Landers on that team as well.
I would believe that. I mean, that's just the way that version of the West Coast offense was. I mean, even going back to the beginning of Tom Rathman in 1989 had, I think, 75 catches. Just because he's as the fullback position, and Tom was a super smart player. He was always in the right spot for the check down. As I'm sure, I don't remember how many catches Kimball had in '95, but I'm sure it was over 50. That's my guess. I have no idea.
I can pull up the numbers, but yeah, it was surprising to see how big of a deal he had in that offense.
Yeah, and going back to your comparison of '91 when I played here with Jerry. I mean, you had Jerry, you had John Taylor, we had Brent Jones at tight end, we had Roger Craig and Tom Rathman in the backfield. So, I mean, we had Mike Sherrard as probably the 3rd receiver. I mean, we had lots of weapons. We had Wesley Walls, who hadn't even really started to blossom yet. So, and then Kansas City. I mean, yeah, you mentioned all the receivers. We had Marcus, we had Kimball, we had Keith Cash, we had drawing a blank on Derek, other tight end, drawing a blank on his last name. So, we in '95 we had lots of weapons.
Would you say, for a quarterback, that's not easier, but when you have because obviously having Jerry Rice makes everything easier, right? But would you say having a kind of a team where you have a bunch of different guys who you don't know who's going to be the blow up guy that week versus when you have in San Francisco where you did have Jerry Rice? Is it easier for a quarterback? Does it make life easier?
Absolutely. And I was going to go back to my point of that I've been talking about. The Chiefs game from yesterday, the position that played the best offensive line, our offensive line at 90 was spectacular. I mean, I think I only got sacked 10 times. I mean,
Wow.
They were really good, really good. And so when you can run the ball and you have time to throw the ball and you have those weapons, life's pretty easy.
Yeah, it looked like it yesterday. I know a lot of Chiefs fans are pissed off after the Buffalo Bills game, even though it was it was a loss 24-20, but it wasn't. We didn't get blown out of Arrowhead, which a lot of people, a lot of Chiefs fans wanted to sell the farm after that game, which I don't get.
Buffalo's pretty good as well, and they have a quarterback that's pretty damn good also.
Yeah. Yeah. People forget, it's not only Mahomes in this league. There's other guys like Josh Allen out there. So we are going to have tough games when you play.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Mahomes and no disrespect to the older, I guess I should say it this way: Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert in San Diego. That's like the top of the class of the kind of that. I'm gonna call them the next generation. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Their record speaks for itself. Russell Wilson. I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but I would say those three guys that I mentioned first are. It's kind of the cream of the crop of the next generation.
Yeah, that's where it's heading with those three.
Yeah.
And you could also throw Joe Burrow in there as well. With
no question. I would absolutely put him in that conversation. Yeah, I think he's good.
NFL's in a good place with those four guys up and coming.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for the game.
Yeah, 100%. So last question here, Steve. We're almost time to go here, but what we saw yesterday, the Chiefs and 49ers, a lot of people are still saying that could be the Super Bowl matchup. I'm going to ask you, Steve, is that going to be the Bono Bowl? Are we going to see the Bono Bowl again in February?
That would be. I'd be happy with that. That'd be fun. That would be, I think, in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's in Arizona. Yep.
I hope that's the case, because that means that both teams have played well. I would say that the what's the word I'm looking for? The consolation prize for the 49ers yesterday is that a year ago they were, I think, 3-5. Now they're 3-4. Going in to play the Rams. The Ram game was here last year and completely turned our season around. Hopefully we can get on that roll that we got on last year. But I'd love to see a Chiefs 49ers game, for a 49ers Super Bowl, Bono Bowl as you called it.
The Bono Bowl, yeah. Awesome. All right, well, Steve, it was awesome having you on, man. Thanks,
Marcus. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back at some point. I know with the bye week, the other guys were busy doing stuff this week, and I know that they'd love to have you on as well to talk more Chiefs football as the season continues. So we'd love to have you on again, Steve.
And anytime, you know how to get a hold of me.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it. That does it for our Chief Concerns. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Presented by BetOnline. We'll see you guys next week, and we talk in Tennessee at Kansas City. So that'll be the Week 9 game. So we'll see you guys next time. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.